Welcome to Inspiring Teachers, a show bringing you classroom tips, motivation, and stories from successful educators. Join Tavis Bean and Danny Hauger as they explore the why of teaching.
Hey friends and family, Danny Hauger here on Inspiring Teachers, and I got to be a guest, I got to do someone else's show with a longer format, and they asked me questions, and I never sung one time, but today I did. I'm just very excited that Shane at the Ed Podcast had me on. I want to share that conversation on our show. If you like our show, I know you're going to love his. He does a wonderful job. He's a nice journalist and a background in education. It's fantastic. TheEdPodcast.com is where you get the show. I love Canada. I love teaching. So Shane's a nice guy. This is everything we needed. Here's my guest spot on their show, The Ed Podcast, which we recorded in January. Hope you enjoy it. Be safe, be well, be kind. Share this podcast with a teacher you love and support. Thanks to AmpedupLearning.com. Use promo code HaugerHistory10. Save on all my resources there. And yeah, check out my new music, Limelight. Ooh, I love that album. Check out Danny Hauger Music now on all digital music platforms. And here's my appearance on The Ed Podcast. Launch that cool music, yeah? Yeah. Oh, here's the show.
Hey, welcome to Ed, a podcast about the teaching life. This is Conversation 166, and I'm your host, Shane Lawrence. Ed is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast, locally grown, community supported. And man, another week in the can. It's been hard to be positive. I don't know how you're doing. I hope you're doing well. But I think this last couple of weeks, I don't live in the U.S., but the politics just tend to bleed across the border and certainly into our news cycle. And I'm also married to someone who's very much dedicated to the political scene, both north and south of the border. And it's been hard to be positive lately. And that's a heck of a leadoff, isn't it? I mean, I want to be positive. I want to contribute good things. And it's a good thing because we're going to get to my guest later, and he's all about positivity. But it's something I've been struggling with a little bit lately. Just trying to be, not look at the world through rose-colored glasses, but definitely maintain a positive outlook. I think I've been having some political conversations. I've got them coming up on the show in a couple of weeks that I get to share with you, and they're really good. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, I worry a little bit for myself and for my students, for my own kids. I mean, I choose to remain hopeful. I mean, you have to, right? You can't just look at the landscape and then just throw your hands up and give up. And I think, I don't know, you know what I'm sensing as I get older is that I am becoming not more political, but certainly more outward looking. And I don't know quite why that is. I am by definition a very introverted person. I'm someone who tends to look inward at my own feelings and my own thoughts, often to the detriment of my own experience of the world. I tend not to look outwards too much, but as my gaze is slowly shifting outwards, and again, I don't know whether that's a product of age or experience or what, but it's a transition that's it's not easy. And hey, that's a great segue, because speaking of hope and joy, I've got a guest today. His name's Danny Hauger. Maybe you've heard of him, maybe you haven't. You have now. He's a great guy. He is all about being positive, and not being positive in that kind of way that ignores the facts, that ignores the world, but in a way that I think is almost like an act of rebellion. And I like that about him. He's a great guy. He's thoughtful, and he's joyful. And I think he's just the kind of attitude, just the kind of person we need right now. So here it is. Here's my conversation with Danny Hauger.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing fine, thanks. Let me turn that webcam on. How's everything going?
Beauty. Ah, good. Good, man. Oh, you got the whole background thing down. Nicely done.
There's a lot of music happening in here.
Yeah, and just the lights, and wow, that's looking beautiful.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Right on. Yeah, for sure. How's your day been?
It's been great. School's going awesome. Doing some side work with NBA 2K, the video game.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty fun. I'm capturing footage and stuff right now, actually, in the other room. Yeah, so great day.
Right on. Yeah, I see you were doing like a lot of voiceover for them, right? For the high school portion of the game.
I did that.
Busy guy.
Kind of a blast. Yeah, the days go real fast now.
Oh, for sure. Oh, I have no doubt. Tell me more. I'm just really curious about this. Tell me more about the MP2K thing. You're doing a TV show?
There's a TV show on YouTube and within the game every week with guests and talking about new content in the game and for the community of players who are pretty loyal. It's a pretty popular online activity for a lot of people. And so the show is like an update feature. There's giveaways, there's prizes, there's top plays. Yeah, it's kind of like a love letter to the game and everybody that plays it, I guess.
Wow. You love doing that?
It's a blast. It's a lot of fun because I went to college for radio, TV, film. And so
Okay.
it kind of lets me exercise, that side of personality. And so does this podcast too with inspiring teachers and whatever. You know, it keeps my feet in that forum and helps me feel like I'm still working in those capacities.
That's nice. Well, I mean, like, do you teach any of that kind of stuff in your education?
Sometimes, pre-COVID in summers, I was teaching sports broadcasting
Okay.
and debate as well. So, yeah, I had been, and not this year. Because
This year
everything is
doesn't
different.
count. This year does not count.
It's an odd one. But you know what? Like, I think I'm an oddball there too, because I really like distance learning. This might be my calling to teach remotely. I think because it's like a radio show. You've got your audience there and you take phone calls, when you pipe people in.
Yeah.
And I really like it. I know it's not working well for everyone. And a lot of students are not having a good time worldwide. But I really think there's a lot of advantages that maybe people aren't talking about because there's a lot of disadvantages.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of funny that this is, I haven't even thought about, do teachers like this? Because I guess
Yeah.
I've never met one who does. So
And I'm afraid to go wide with that opinion because I think it's so unpopular
yeah.
that I'm not sure it would be well received or be worth the outrage that would spark,
Well, okay. Full disclosure, like I'm recording now. Are you okay if we just kind of keep rolling into this? Because I like where this
Yeah.
is going.
I'm perfectly fine with that. Is it okay? Would you be able to give me a copy so that I could put it on our show too? That way we could promote your show?
Sure, I'd love that.
Yeah.
Right
Then
on.
for sure. Yeah. To carry it wherever you'd like to. Thanks for having me, Shane.
Yeah, no worries. So what's your concern like with potential feedback or whatever you want to call online hate?
For sure. Well, I think one of the things I used to teach 3 years of private school and then I went to public school. And one of the things I remember from orientation was like, don't post things about teaching. And I thought, well, I could post positive things. That everyone would like that. But anything that would provoke a controversy or adverse opinion, I felt like just wasn't things that I needed to share because it maybe bring undue attention to me as a teacher. And our principal talked about it kind of like, as a public employee, your opinion about education should be kept to yourself, kind of. And I don't know if those were the exact words, but I think her impression was more to keep people from posting inappropriate content, especially
Okay.
posting during the school day.
Yeah.
But I just thought like I wouldn't really reap any benefit from it. But I wish we would turn the conversation towards more of the positives that are. You mind if I go into some of the things that I think are positive about
Fire
this?
away. Yeah.
And what I know is as soon as I post these things, people be like, yeah, but all the negatives. I'm like, right, but I'm not talking about the negatives. So the things that I think are good for a high school teacher,
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about discipline issues. For one, I keep a really positive, fun classroom community anyway. In
Mhm.
my 3 years, I haven't had any discipline issues in the classroom, but I don't have to worry about somebody going off to the bathroom and being gone for an hour
Mhm.
and where they are and what they're doing. And I can't monitor that. And then I deal with meetings later. I don't have to deal with interruptions. I teach history, when somebody voices an opinion, they don't have to worry about someone immediately jumping down their back for
Right.
their opinion.
Yeah.
People who are shy and don't like speaking in front of a crowd because they think people are going to talk behind their back can speak without interruption again. So I'm getting everyone more involved than I would in a normal class year. I also feel like people are paying more attention during my class than they would. And I try to be dynamic. I try to be fun. I fall on the floor. I make jokes. I try to keep it entertaining. But I really feel like with a microphone in front of me and a camera and this controlled setting, I feel like the audience is more attentive.
Mhm. Do you think that's partly just because of your training though? Like you kind of have that ability to just communicate through the screen?
It's part of it. But I'm noticing things like this. Nobody's pulling their phones out during class. They could.
Mhm.
Maybe one per class is, but normally 5 or 6. People who would drift off and fall asleep in class, not happening now. They could. They're in bed. They
Yeah.
could do that.
Yeah.
But just the signals I'm getting when I look, and I have 2 monitors, which I feel like every teacher should have right now in
Yep.
digital classrooms. I got my whole students here and then all my material here. I can see everyone at a glance. I can't do that in the classroom either. I can't tell. I don't know
Yeah.
that this has happened, but if somebody's vaping or if somebody's, eating or if somebody's whatever it is, there's
Yeah.
so many potential, like, I could be in trouble for this kind of behavior if we were in the classroom. And at home, I'm not seeing those issues come up. And I know that, and I know if I posted any of those things, people would just jump and list all the negatives, but that's not
Mhm.
what I'm talking about. I'm just saying there are a lot of cool positives.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I mean, some of the things that you're not having issues with, I am having some issues with. I had a pretty interesting incident a few days ago that basically required me to develop essentially a safe word in class. So I started my classes today like, "Hi kids, if I say everybody out, leave the chat now."
Okay.
Because there's a thing happened in one of my classes. I don't want to get into it obviously, but
Sure.
it was
Zoom
not.
bombing situation?
It was what?
Was it a Zoom bombing situation?
Something like that. Yes. Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't so that they could share their love of Paw Patrol. So
Sure.
it wasn't great. So, but the point is that at the same time though, getting back to the positives, like today, my first class, I'm like, okay, so if I say everybody out, then that'll be kind of like our safe word. So that means like everybody needs to leave. And one of the kids was like, "Can we make it pineapple juice?" And I was like, at first, I just kind of fought it. I'm like, no, no, it's going to be everybody. I was like, well, come on, it should be pineapple juice. And then everyone was like, yeah, make it pineapple juice. I'm like, okay, fine. So if someone comes in and starts doing horrible things, I'm going to say pineapple juice.
You win.
You
got
win.
Pineapple juice.
Whatever works for you, kids. It's all good. I think I was worried. It's like because when bad things like that happen, I tend to like just I panic, right?
Yeah, like what's wrong? So I'm not realizing something that's happening.
Yeah.
That's another thing that's not happening now.
Yeah.
If I turn my back to use the whiteboard in the room, I'm not seeing what's happening there.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'll make a joke like, okay, everyone do the inappropriate thing while I'm turning my back. And for the most part, like I haven't had any discipline issues in 6 years, and I've been in schools where they happen. I feel like building the rapport from day one is just as important now as it's ever been.
Yeah.
But I think like, I don't know, it could be this. It could be that I'm trying real hard
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that they know I care and that we're having a good time together. And with the exception that a lot of you don't like doing the format that we're doing it this way, I'm going to try to at least make our hour together as positive as I can. Can we agree to that? And everybody's come with me on that journey so far.
Beautiful.
I'm
That's
grateful.
Great. Yeah. Well, how long have you been teaching for?
This is my 6th year.
Okay, so this is year 6. All right, and let's flesh that out for a moment. So, what do you do as a teacher, as an educator?
I am a U.S. history, government, and world history teacher in high school.
Huh? Is that extra interesting right now?
Oh yeah, like 400%. And that is an asset and not a liability to me. I've heard a lot of teachers say, "How could you teach history right now?
Mhm.
That would be ridiculous." No, actually, it's a perfect training ground to tell everybody to listen to each other and that everyone's opinion is valid. And then they're all very, very interested because of everything that they hear at home, on TV, and online.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one thing about the States that I'm in Canada, and
I love Canada so much.
me too.
I go every year, except
Oh,
this
do
year.
you? Do you?
But
Okay.
I've gone for 5 years in a row.
Quick rabbit trail. Where do you go?
Okay, so I've been to Toronto, Mississauga, Ottawa, Vancouver. I haven't been to Alberta yet. It's on my list.
Don't
And
come
I
right
went
now.
to Victoria last year.
Cool. Right on. Well, if
Beautiful.
you ever come,
I love every city I go to. So awesome up there.
Awesome. You're hitting all the highlights. That's for sure. So
Yeah, I know the touristy ones.
that's
I want to
all
get to the suburbs too.
Yeah. Well, hey, come on up to Edmonton. That's where I am, and
Yeah, I'd like to.
we'll do coffee.
Edmonton over Calgary, would you say?
Well, because I'm from Edmonton, yeah, I have to say yes. But maybe off record. Well, Calgary's probably more attractive to someone coming in from out of the country. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
It's more like a city. Edmonton is like a really big town.
All right.
That's how I feel about it. And I know others who would, speaking of hot takes, would probably have a lot of things to say to me about that. But that's how I feel about it. But I've been here for more than 20 years, and it's home. I like it.
Born in Canada?
Born in Canada, yeah. I was raised in a little town called Prince George in BC, And
Okay,
yeah,
awesome.
then I moved here for school, met a girl, and here we are. And I'm
Fantastic.
surrounded by toys.
Cool.
Right on. Okay, so yeah, back to the U.S. history thing though. So you teach U.S. history. I mean, now you've got a curriculum. I mean, how do you balance that out with, I mean, just the volume? I mean, I don't mean just mean amount, but I mean just like the actual like audible volume of politics in your country. I mean, how do you walk in a
Okay.
classroom and say, we're not doing that today because we got this other thing we got to do?
I think sometimes you can, and I think the way to do it is a journal at the top is good bell work to keep everyone going while you take attendance, do your thing, get set,
Mhm.
and then draw. You could either do a current event backwards and then say, well, what we're learning about is 1800s industrialism, and what's in the news today is Elon Musk leaving Tesla and moving Tesla to Texas out of California. We live in California,
Mhm.
so tell me this: why is he doing this? What's the benefit? And then I also teach economics, so I could say, we're going to learn about the senior year. We'll talk more about it, but here's a quick 1 minute questions, and then I ask them questions.
Mhm.
And then go back and talk about early manufacturing gaining ground and how the United States started to surge and why that affected countries that didn't have industrialization. And then tie that back to COVID and talk about the vaccine and how the UK vaccinated for the first time a couple of days ago. Why did they beat us to the race? What's going to happen next? I read that Canada has like 5 doses for every Canadian citizen. Why don't we? And just if you do things quick, it keeps things punchy. It keeps things like vibrant and snappy and moving.
Yeah.
And then you get all the curriculum in around it. And, then you do gallery walk about the subject material we're actually doing. So I feel like if it was a radio show, there would be segments, and the classroom's the same way.
Mhm.
Like 5 minute launch, warm up, journal, a 10 minute current event summary. We have 45 minutes left to do content. And then wherever you can draw connections,
Yeah.
that's how I make, or hopefully make kids care about what's happening back then, because it affects the way things are happening now.
Well, a lot of it mirrors that, I think, right? It's where we're kind of recycling the past in a lot of ways. Um, but what about, I mean, I notice even just now with our patter here, I mean, I can hear your training in the way that you speak, right? There's not a lot of dead air when you're addressing.
Oh, I hate dead air.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you do, probably by definition and by training as much as anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, so is that kind of like your classroom too? Is it always just like kind of go, 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 go?
For the most part, it is, unless we're covering something so serious that it demands a change in tone and pace, which
Mhm.
occasionally things do, like a key person passing away, or,
Yeah.
when we get to we were doing the children in the factories the other day, and I'm
Mhm.
reading about a kid getting torn from thigh to knee. And yeah, I'm not going to blow through that. And sometimes I say, like,
No.
now I'm going to change tone because out of respect for what I'm talking about,
Mm.
we'll slow down for a minute. And then that change of pace is like a texture, and they can feel that something serious is going on, I think, for the most part. Yeah, it's definitely training, because I worked for the LA Angels radio station for 5 years, and KSTN and Stockton before that. And yeah, dead air is like the first thing that's going to make you lose a job, is the way they train you anyway. It turns out like it happens sometimes because of technical failure and it's not your fault. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it is the nightmare that they teach you to be afraid of in the beginning. Like the
Unless,
worst thing in the world is silence.
yes, yes. Well, on radio, I'm sure, right? It's always this constant, yeah,
Yeah.
noise. I'm not there yet. I've been doing just this. I'm self-trained, I suppose you could say, but never
That
quite
sounds
managed
good.
to. Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'll have to ask you for some voiceover training tips
Yeah,
here.
anytime.
So what's your approach to your classroom then right now, like now that we're online? I mean, you've
Mhm,
lost a lot of the performative aspect of just being in the room physically. So, I
mhm.
mean, how are you filling those gaps?
I feel like the night before a lesson is a great time to review what you've got. And
Mhm.
is it good enough that the material will carry people's interest? And then if not, I'm tweaking. So I think if we were in the room, I'm ready for the rest of the year if we were physically there. But like the night before a lesson is given, I review it one more time and say, what's going to hook somebody in? Is it visually appealing what I'm going to be showing? Do I need an extra little minute of video or some audio or a primary source? So the extra review has helped.
Mhm.
And then I guess you have a certain confidence when you know what you're about to teach is good. Then you have like the passion in what you're about to do, because you're not selling a half-baked lesson or just filling time or moving from the rest of the chapter because you have to finish the chapter.
Mhm.
That's one thing I think I've improved from year one, where year one's like, well, I know I need to get to this date by this time. And now I'm like, how do I make the next lesson a really good one-piece lesson? and that I know I can cover at least a few things. And at the end, when I recap the show or the lesson, so today we did this. Like, isn't that cool? We learned a lot. Did you learn a lot? And then see if you have hands and see what they write in their 3-2-1, like an exit ticket where they're documenting their own learning. That's another thing the last 2 years. It's like, I'm starting to become a teacher. This is cool.
It's a neat feeling, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, because you don't feel like a teacher when you start this job.
I felt like an actor a little
Yeah.
bit. Like, here's how a teacher performs.
Yes.
And so I was like being somebody else a little bit. So
Yeah. I saw one once on TV, and so that's what I'm going to try and do.
yeah, just like the movies.
Yeah.
Bueller. Anyone?
Oh, there's been days where I've definitely felt like that.
Yeah, that's true. And not every day is the best, but
Yeah.
there have been a lot of good ones. I'm feeling like pretty confident in December, maybe in March and April. We'll see.
Well, who knows if the world will even be here by that point. I mean,
Man, who
we're
knows?
we're all assuming, that, oh, good, 2020 is over. Whew, glad that's over. But it's like, no, it's just the sun is still there. The Earth is still orbiting. Nothing's really changed. So,
Well, the thing
hang
I've
on.
really tried to talk to my students about is you have something right now that you won't always have, and it's time.
Mhm.
And I mentioned them, like the DoorDash founder went public today and is now worth $1 billion. When he was 5, came into the country with nothing, and then came up with a great idea. I'm like, all of you now could watch YouTube videos, pick up a skill like programming or editing, net
Mhm.
yourself a job coming out of high school, or build yourself a company or a channel. Like, you will have time now that you will not have later. You have energy now you may not have later, but you have to will it into existence. So if you're not happy at home, why don't you build yourself something to be happy about and try to, at least get something creative, pick up an instrument, build something, send someone a nice note. You can make this time better for someone else or someone around you. And some of them are listening and some of them are doing it. And I'm getting some emails like, a student from last year just declared political science as a major. She said, because of my class. I'm like, I don't even like politics that much. But I think it's cool that like you heard something that like sparked something in you. If I could
Mhm.
turn some light bulbs on that way,
Yeah.
that's bigger than school and bigger than lessons, like something I'll be proud of later when I think back to this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah. You are a really positive person.
I think
Is
that I try to be contrarian. Maybe if everyone else around me was happy and cheerful again, I'd go back to
You'd
like,
just
is
be
it really so
miserable.
great? Yeah. What's so great about this? Kind of chilly out now. I don't know. It's just, I keep hearing all the other teachers at my school and in our community say how awful this time is for
Mm.
students. And I know it can be easy. I'm glad my 4-year-old's not in kindergarten yet. I don't know what I would do. But I mean, if we're going to all dwell on just that side, we're all going to get sadder. We're not going to at least seize a chance to make something brighter and better. And I feel like that's also an unpopular opinion right now.
Mm.
I feel like as a culture, sometimes we don't celebrate anything when things are sad. And I don't want to be the opposite either. I don't want to have a parade right now. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping that some students, if everyone else is being sad, can we at least be happy in government and history class for an hour? Even with everything that is tough to learn in government and history right now.
Right. So is that what it is? Is it an act of contrarianism for you then?
It might be. This is funny,
So
but
we should just get everyone to
I
be
don't
really
really
happy.
know.
Yeah, let's find out, right? Let's just get everyone happy, and then let's just watch Danny and see what happens.
Because then I often wonder too, like, am I that happy outside of the classroom? Like, I love everything I'm doing right now. I love the music, Danny Hauger music. I love all the things I'm doing, but I haven't found the thing either where I'm like, oh, this is exactly my purpose. I feel like there's moments in each day
Mhm.
and I'm searching and I'm hoping that by doing many things, I'll net into it. And I have people I admire who I think have found it, but I think I'm on that quest like everybody else. So if I was a young student in high school and somebody had spoken these words to me, I think they would have been meaningful. Instead of growing up in Stockton, which is like one of the first bankrupt cities in California, where people said, you'll never be anything. Well, that didn't help me believe I could do anything. And then I felt like I was like a delayed start, out of school. So not getting into anything bad, just feeling like I was average. And then if kids don't get told they can do anything, some people don't have anyone in their life that'll tell them that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So you grew up in Stockton,
Mm-hmm.
and so the overall sort of mood of that place was just negative as it was going. Like, there's so much going on here. Like, what happened in Stockton?
Okay, so on the plus side, I feel like the mayor's turning it around, so I'll give some credit there.
Okay.
But if you Google Stockton most miserable city, I think for 3 or 4 years in a row, it was on the top 10 and number 1 several times.
Mhm.
Bankruptcy, foreclosure, number 1 in yeah, foreclosed homes, car theft, always in the top 5, murder, usually in the top 10.
Mhm.
It's just a place where there's going to be plenty of things to distract you from being a successful person growing up.
Yeah.
And again, I think it has good sides and bad sides, like any city in the world. But I watched a lot of people I knew in high school struggle, get into drugs, get into difficulties. A lot of people I knew that aren't around now.
Mhm.
And I just, when I came to the town that I teach in, I saw a little of that. And so I'm hoping that there's someone like me in my classrooms who will get a little bit more of a boost than I got by hearing some of the things I'm presenting before, after, and during class.
So was your goal just to kind of just get out of there as fast as you could then?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. So, yeah, I think that's true. That's a fact.
Well,
And even
sometimes,
that said, like, you know, where you're from really does like shape a lot of who you are too.
Mhm.
And it gave me my first radio opportunity to work at a station there. And I got to work at a baseball stadium as my first job. So there's a lot of cool, like nice Americana. What a great place to earn $6.25 and get a free hot dog every day. There's a number of like experiences that, you know, I don't think if I change them would change me. But yeah, I won't be buying a home there and living there soon. But again, credit to the mayor. He's like turning a lot of stuff around. I don't want to be a hater on my hometown either. Too many people have already chosen that route.
Yeah, no, you're making me feel guilty about the way I talk about my hometown, but then
But we have the right to, because it's our hometown, right?
exactly.
And you can never be a hero in your hometown because everyone knows all your stories.
I don't think anyone would remember me now at this point. I have not been back there in a long time.
For a while, I was trying to be the most famous person in Stockton history, but Chris Isaac, he was like a one-hit wonder.
Oh,
in the
that
90s.
guy!
That's
I
probably
remember Chris
me.
Isaac.
I have to. He's basically my competition. And then we had a basketball player, Michael Olowokandi, who was like #1 in the 2001 draft. Who
Didn't really go anywhere.
I want to say that he fizzled out, but he made like $20 million. So why am I saying that? It's fine.
Well,
He did fine.
yeah. I mean, it's amazing
He
that you
played.
can fizzle out to the tune of $20 million. Like,
Wouldn't
sure.
that be great? When I worked
Yeah.
for the Angels, I calculated that Albert Pujols made more in a month that I would make in my lifetime,
Yeah,
and more per at bat than I made in a year.
yeah. That's rough.
That's not quite right. I think it's more in a, but I can't remember the ratio. But I had it all on paper because baseball's a long game. Like there's time to do a lot of math.
Yeah, it is. It's a long game. Wow. So, okay, I'm really interested in the positivity thing because it is like you say, it's kind of, it feels contrarian right now, right? It feels like this is
Mhm.
going against the grain. I mean, so if sure, there's a contrarian part to it. I mean, but I mean, you can't just, if you were putting it on, you'd be exhausted after like a day or two, right?
Yeah.
To actually
Yeah.
be who you're not. So I mean, like, so where is it coming from for you
Hmm.
beyond
Okay.
just that?
So maybe it's that my teaching is my investment in a better future. And so I think the positive attitude can will you to accomplish a lot of different things.
Mhm.
And I really do believe in the unlimited potential of a student in high school if they are driven. Because what I've found and learned, maybe you can verify this for me, but when people have that uncrushable drive, that's the people who become successful at the things they want to do because they will never ever give up. John Cena says, never give up. And the people who get dissuaded, like I got into a stage in radio where I'm like, oh, okay, I see where I am in 20 years if I stay here. That's all right. If I want to do play by play, I'll wait 30 years and maybe the guy who's doing the job will leave. But
Yeah.
usually you hold those jobs so you die. There's 30 of them.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to spend 30 years on a what if maybe.
Yeah.
I only live to live once. I want to live many lives. So I take that back to my students and the points of like, what did I need back then? I needed more confidence. I needed practice speaking. So we do a lot of that in our class.
Mhm.
And then I need to have a good time because if I'm not, I tell them this too. If I'm not having a good time teaching you, what am I doing with my life? And what am I saying you should do? Like people say, if you find something you want to do or you enjoy doing, it's never a day of work in your life.
Mhm.
I hope all of them can find a path like that. I
Oh,
don't want
yeah.
all of them to work in a job where they like look at the clock in anguish and anxiety because they have to go lock themselves up for 6 or 8 hours because they
Mhm.
have to pay bills. Like that's not a future I want for them. So I think about all those big picture things and then I teach them history in between. And that makes me optimistic because I do believe in them. And that's certainly genuine. And it must come from me wanting to make my past life better.
Mhm.
And maybe that's it, that I really believe if I put in the effort that for whoever's really listening and their heart is open,
Yeah.
that I'm making a little bit of a better future for them, hopefully, that they'll think about that later.
I appreciate that. That's a really honest take on things. I mean, I often look at myself and think, am I just doing this to make up for my own past? Am I just like trying to project, success and good feelings and positivity onto my students because maybe some of the things in my own past weren't that great, and I'd like to sort of help them avoid those kind of same pitfalls that I've
Yeah.
had. You know,
And did you know that you would be doing this for a long time? Because I can't see my future. I don't know where I am then. And I can't, like, I have a problem with contracts. Like, if you were like,
Yeah.
well, here, Danny, 20 more years of teaching to you. Good luck. But there's what?
Yeah.
Is that the best thing because sometimes I wonder if I'm even the best teacher for them,
Mhm. But
And,
maybe you're not. But then in a well, that's okay though, because like I know that there's some kids in my room,
yeah,
back in the day when I used to teach in the room, that and we are just head to head and we can't connect, and I'll reach and I'll come in from this side and that side, and it's like and just nothing works, and this kid just hates my guts, and frankly I don't really like them very much either. But I'll talk to one of my other, coworkers, one of the people I teach with, about
Yeah.
this kid who's this thorn in my side, and they're saying, "What are you talking about? They're awesome."
yeah,
And I've been on the flip side of that too, where someone comes to me and is like, "Oh, so and so, I can't, they're still nothing but trouble in my class." I'm like, what are you talking about? They're star students, right?
totally.
Right. So you can't connect with all of them,
No,
but they're, if we can all be good teachers, then
Right.
that means that somewhere out there, hopefully, they're going to find someone they can connect to.
absolutely. One of my retiring math teachers said that if every student here has a teacher who
Mhm.
is that connection, then we're doing a great job.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you got 2 or 3, like, oh, wow.
Well, then you've really got something special going on.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting too, like, going back to what you said earlier too about these kids having like this kind of drive. I mean, I'm curious, like how many of the kids that you teach, I don't know what time frame to choose, but like how many kids, have you come across that are like just have that almost otherworldly singular focus? Because I mean, I've been teaching 15 years and I can count them on one hand. I can count kids that
Man.
I don't have enough fingers and toes to count all the kids that I've pushed in that direction, and I think I've nudged in the right way.
Yeah.
But how many kids do you think you've actually had that have come through the door that are just like, why are you even here? Go do this thing you love.
It feels bad to give an answer that's a number while I'm still teaching. It feels like my students are watching this. Like,
I'm sorry, it's a really unfair question.
Hauger. I know they are there,
Mm-hmm.
and I know the ones who have graduated and gone. That I told them this, that I would buy stock in you.
Mm-hmm.
I would put
Yeah.
20, 30, 40 grand on your success and know you're going to triple my returns soon. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then maybe even more important than that are like the tier of students who can get there and who at the start of the year aren't there, but at the end of the year are. I think that's pretty powerful. And I love the fact of like, kids don't really like to handwrite a whole lot. Like I get like a dozen, I don't know if you know that secret,
Yeah. Oh no, I've noticed. Yeah.
but like you get that dozen handwritten notes or so at the end of the year. And it's like, oh my gosh, man, you cared? Like you liked this class?
Yeah.
Really? Because sometimes it's a surprise where they come from. And then it's like, wow, it's hard to even, I guess I don't even recognize who's really connecting sometimes until later.
Yeah,
so
that's so true. That's so true. I have like a little collection in my drawer, like my rainy day collection. So if I ever have a day where I'm just feeling sad about me, I'll just go into the drawer and pull one of those things out.
That's a good thing. Another answer is that when I taught at private school, because I went through Catholic school for like 13 years, and there was a lot of polo shirt wearing. This is like the one day this year I haven't worn a polo shirt special for this show.
I feel
not that I really particularly dressed up, but there you go. I felt like it was like 30 out of 35 at every room. And then that's when I realized they didn't need me in that location because they had so many people in their life that was already me.
Yeah.
10 times over. And all the help and support and the tutoring and the private school money to go to whatever college they want. And I told them to be grateful because I told them all my Stockton stories and like, you guys have more potential than maybe my kids will have if I dedicated everything I have towards them. I have one kid, so maybe better odds if you only have one. But that's when I realized that they had an entire support group, and then I needed to go somewhere else where only some kids had that, so I could try to be more impactful. And I don't know if that's gonna play out in the long run, but I hope it will.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, the kind of situation you're describing, you think about the story of the starfish, right? The little girl throwing the starfish in the sea, and the guy's like, "Hey, you're not going to save all the starfish." But she's like,
Oh,
"Yeah,
I don't
but
know
you."
this story. It sounds like an environmental one that Americans
Oh
don't know.
no! Oh, okay. So there's a story. It's totally apocryphal. It's not true, but
All right.
little girl walks along the beach. There's a whole bunch of starfish that have been washed in on the tide, so she's
Okay.
picking them up and throwing them back into the ocean to save their lives. And some guy, comes along and he's like, "Yuck, that's what are you doing? You're wasting your time because you can't save all, and it's not going to make any difference at all because there's so many of them on the beach." And she picks one up, throws it in the ocean, and she said, "It made a difference to that one."
Yeah.
Right?
It's a good one.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, all this to say this was supposed to be a swift little metaphor, but now I've drawn it out and just
But
killed
I'm
it.
glad
But
you did.
yeah.
And then like sometimes I look at the entire education system, like at our local state level and local level, and I'm like, why aren't we serving kids better?
Mhm.
Like in the cities next to where I live too. We're in California. We're like an hour from Facebook and Twitter. Why aren't we doing a better job? And then could we do a better job? Because I'm pretty sure we could, like as a
Yeah, I
collective
think so.
society. And then that's upsetting sometimes to be what feels like a cog in a machine that needs a lot of attention.
Yes. Yes. Well, I mean, I was actually just talking recently about, yeah, the state of US education. I mean, it's always good to fight for better education. I don't think, everywhere, anywhere, no matter how good it is, it can always be better.
And then sometimes I'm upset because I don't know if it's like by design. And then I'm like, well, what are we doing? Like, why aren't we doing better with everything that we have?
Mhm.
I don't know if your system is better or not. I've looked into it a little, but it's hard
Mhm.
to tell from reading things online what it's actually like.
I can tell you that we are better supported.
That's
Bottom
nice.
line.
I'm glad to hear that.
Now I'm
I-
making you negative. I'm sorry. I'm being happy
No,
and you're being
I
negative.
am.
There, see?
Yeah. See, well, yeah. There's real
sorry, Danny.
questions.
I'm sorry.
No, man, it's all good. Tomorrow I'm gonna be all depressed.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, everybody. Just just fill in the journal, whatever you think is good. It's fine. You're all right. You're all special. I can't tell you're wrong. No one can. Whole system's wrong. And then I just close the Zoom, and people are really worried.
That's awesome. And then you can post like a really emo song to your YouTube channel later on in the day.
Well, there's those. Yeah. They
Oh,
exist.
okay. You can
Yeah, it's
pull
funny
one
because
out.
then you know what? My music's not very optimistic. My music's very sad
Well,
and like ballady.
uh-huh.
But I love it.
Yeah.
But that makes me happy. And a lot of the songs that are my favorites are like slow Gin Blossoms, Toad the Wet Sprocket, Oasis songs,
Mhm.
but they make me feel happy. So I don't know what I'm drawing from.
Well, I think, that's just catharsis, right? You need that.
Maybe.
I mean, like I'm a pretty happy, positive person, but
Yeah.
I like to find the like weirdest, most extreme horror films I can find
Oh,
every
man.
now and then and just watch them because,
Okay.
and it's just like, there it's out. It's good.
Interesting. I can't
Yeah.
do scary. I
You
can't
know,
do scary.
I also happen to like High School Musical quite a lot. So,
Mm.
I'm a diverse guy.
Yeah,
I
there
love
you go.
musicals. I
That's a
love
good
music.
thing.
So I think there's an element of just, wow, this is going all over the place, but
Yeah. Well, this is how my class runs.
yeah,
But we
yeah,
still cover everything we need to. I get great
Yeah.
reviews when administrators come in.
excellent. Good on you. Well, and it seems like the kids are giving you good reviews too.
I feel that way because
Mm.
there's the starfish who are sometimes not the most awake or paying attention, but
Mhm.
I get good participation. And when you try to talk to everyone every class, it's hard to hide because I want to talk to you. I want to enjoy this with you. So
Mhm.
will you join into this with me? And most people will. So
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Danny, gosh, I feel a little better. I feel like I've dropped you down a couple notches, and I feel
I'll be back tomorrow.
that's awesome. Well, maybe
fine.
we should do this again sometime, and we'll just
Anytime.
I love it. Awesome. Well, you've got a whole pile of other side projects that you do. So maybe if people want to, get in touch with you, or get in touch with
Yes.
all those different kind of things that you do, how do they do that?
Thank you very much. And thank you for this invitation. And you've done a number of amazing episodes with great tips for teachers. So subscribe to this podcast for sure. You can subscribe to Inspiring Teachers to hear me and my friend Tavis interview teachers around the country and talk to each other about what life's like in California. At Danny Hauger is a great place on Instagram and on Twitter to see everything else that I'm doing. Also at DHX Music and DannyHauger.com, because I'm really, 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 really trying to get the music off the ground, especially while I have time to record, So I'd love anybody that
Yeah.
likes indie acoustic music. Check me out on Spotify or iTunes or wherever your digital music is sold. I'd love to get that going. And other than that, I'm in NBA 2K21 doing high school commentary if you're into video games. And there's much more, but we don't have time. So just Danny Hauger's good. Follow me. It'd be great to talk to you guys.
Thanks again, Danny.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Thanks again, Danny. Great to have you on the show. Always appreciate having a talk with someone about positivity. I think we need more of that right now. So yeah, great having you on. This episode has been brought to you by BGC Bigs, and that's Boys and Girls Clubs, Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Edmonton and area, and they're looking for volunteers like you, families that have needed help and need it now more than ever. And with BGC Bigs, volunteers have the power to change the courses of young people's lives across our community during the pandemic and beyond. Together, we can ignite the hope that we all need right now. Dedicating your time to the life of a child or youth makes an impact that goes far beyond Zoom calls, video game battles, or tutoring sessions. Explore how you can get involved and watch our community change one life at a time. There is currently a need for virtual mentors, tutors, and in-person volunteers to be big brothers or sisters. Join BGC Bigs for a virtual coffee in one of their online open houses to learn more about volunteering and get more information at bgcbigs.ca or Google BGC Bigs. It's easier than you think. And hey, don't forget that after this, there is a bonus segment featuring some tales from Danny, a great story that he's got to share with you. But in the meantime, if you want to reach out, you can find all things Ed at theedpodcast.com, or you can hit me up on Twitter at theedpodcast. You can catch all the latest episodes. Just be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your favorite podcatcher is. Just search up Ed Conversations. You can also listen to Ed and lots of other great edu-focused shows at Voice Ed Radio. Just go over to voiced.ca. So, on behalf of myself and Danny, thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
All right, my first day teaching high school, which was my third year of teaching overall, I'm real nervous about how I'm going to handle these adults in the classroom coming from middle school. And I've got seniors coming in. They're seated at it's the bell. And a girl, as I'm about to say, hello, my name is, she bolts out the door and slams it. And I'm like, okay, decision time. I could leave my class of 33 to chase this girl down and figure it out. I could run after her, and then what will I do? Will I shout? Will I yell? Will I demonstrate so that I can own my classroom and tell everyone what kind of a disciplinarian I am? And I didn't. I let her go because I assumed running out of a room is an emergency. It's something I can't control. Maybe I can't even help it. But I was very worried for the next couple minutes. She came back into the room, and she was crying, and she sat in the back. And again, I'm like, I'm in the middle of introducing myself. I need to make my stake. The long story of it is I was right to not say anything. It was a personal family issue. Someone was very ill and getting test results, and she was running out to take the phone call. If I had been the disciplinarian and yelled and told her to get back to her seat and don't ever disrespect me and slam the door like that, I would have lost her forever. And she is one of the students at the end of the year who said that there are a number of lessons that helped me overcome the difficulties with her family, find solace during difficult times and hospital visits, and some music that helped her kind of coalesce through the situation. And she said that I'm the single biggest male role model that she'd had impact her life in a positive, and the only adult male who'd ever been a positive figure. And I thought I could have ruined all of that by chasing after her and making a big scene to tell everyone what a tough guy I was. And it was at that moment I threw out the idea of being a tough teacher and just tried to be on the level with my students. And I didn't know how great of a decision that would be. I'm just glad I made that choice.
Brilliant. That is a good choice. Wow.
It came to me kind of quick. I was worried for a second I wouldn't have anything. And then I remembered that was a couple years ago. It was pretty cool. So that was it, everybody. It was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed the show. The long-form conversation gets more personality out, and I'm just so happy that I can teach and focus on helping students every day and answer emails, be there to support them after class and chat and just really discuss their goals with them, because that's something that would have meant a lot to me back then. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, subscribe. Check out Danny Hauger Music, Making Fun, Tavis's channel. Subscribe to Danny Hauger on YouTube. Till next time, class is dismissed. See you later, everybody.